Welcome to Ministers Talking a weekly program where Rev Briz and Rev Z and their guests chat about current affairs, world events, spiritual principles, and any old they want to talk about. Based on the New Thought philosophy and ancient wisdoms, Ministers Talking shares a visionary perspective of the evolving spiral called spiritual living. Join us each week as we explore the emerging paradigm of life on planet Earth and beyond.
And good morning, dear ones. Rev Briz over here.
Rev Z right here.
And Laura Topper right here.
Exactly. Forgot to tell you about that part, Laura. Sorry. And we're here on a Friday morning. We're here on a Friday morning, Ministers Talking Shit, with the international edition. So for those that maybe somebody's got a speaker open, we're going to need to close down a little bit out there. There we go. Yeah, maybe try lowering your volume just a little bit, Z. So last week we were here, we were talking, we let you know that we'd be back, and we had a special guest with us. This week we've got another special guest with us. Now, Laura doesn't quite have the REV in front of her name yet, but that's just a formality. She's in ministerial school. She's doing great work. If you're hanging out here on New Thought Media Network, I'm sure you've seen her around because she's almost on as many shows as I am at this point. And I love that. That's great. So Laura is a vital aspect of this. And you'll be taking your ministerial exams probably about a year from now, I believe, is what the schedule was. But Laura gives us our international flavor today coming from the UK. And we thought it would be really fun to have her join us for one of these programs. So good morning and welcome.
Good morning. Good afternoon, anyone that's in the UK. It's great to be here. Thank you for inviting me to your show.
Exactly. And Rev Z is doing a little traveling. So he's in Florida, enjoying much nicer, sunnier weather than I am here. Although spring has finally sprung in the Rockies. So thanks for being with us. And we want to chat a little bit today, well, maybe a whole lot today, around the topic of vaccines. And the COVID vaccine, we haven't touched on this. This is maybe one of the most controversial topics I think we've waded into, because at the very center of it is personal choice. And we teach a philosophy of personal choice. There's no way around it. And I personally will say right off the bat, I think there's also a personal responsibility for the greater good here as well that has to be weighed. This is not just a personal choice of, do I like vanilla or chocolate ice cream? There's a lot more going on here. So I'm going to open it up. We'll throw it. Who wants to jump in? Who's got the first volley in this discussion this morning?
I will go. Morning, everyone. I think the vaccine is a real thing. Obviously, I got my first shot already myself. I got my second shot coming up Sunday. And as you said, it is a personal choice. But I think it's the choice. If I was in your shoes, I would make the choice. Because we're talking about the SARS vaccine, which is in the family of things we've seen before, but it's definitely in the flu family. So although there are also people who have controversial ideas around the flu, most of the country and most of the world, when flu season starts, they get a flu vaccine, and they get it every year when they make the boosters or the different, variants of the flu. Now, of course, part of the thing with the vaccines is people say, well, you may make your transition, right? Well, that's going to happen regardless, no matter what we take, no matter what we do. So if I think I can protect myself from something that I'm not really adept to, my family, the country, the world, the universe, for me, my choice is to be prudent and take the shot. So I'm sure some people on the other end of this call cringing right now, but that's okay.
Yeah, that's okay. I mean, for me, I'm going to be really honest here. I haven't yet had the vaccine. In the UK, I had a text message about 3 weeks ago saying, you know, dear Miss Topper, you are vulnerable. You're vulnerable because you're 57 years young. And so come and have your vaccine shot. And for me, I'm in that place of, wow, it's not because I feel that I'm an irresponsible person, but I understand that having the vaccine is showing a level of responsibility, not just for myself, for others too. But I have this kind of niggling thing going on of, really, is the vaccine something that is ultimately going to save this or to change this? Especially vaccinating during a pandemic, which I know can be something that can erupt it can morph into another kind of strain of something, that then there needs to be a vaccine for that. And it kind of has a chainmail effect of this thing that keeps morphing into something else because it has its own intelligence of how to beat the vaccine. So I'm in that place at the moment where I'm just feeling I'm wanting to use this philosophy as much as I can to qualify my decision, to see how science of mind fits into this, really, how new thought fits into this in the decision-making process. Because I'm sure there are so many people that might be feeling, actually, like you said, Rev Robert, my body, my choice. Does that really mean that they are being irresponsible because they're thinking that that by not doing it, that they could harm somebody else or they could pass it on to somebody else? Or have they thought through the whole process in a different kind of way? And for me, it's just, well, where does science of mind really fit into this? Because I know when Ernest Holmes was alive, Spanish flu was very prevalent, and thousands and thousands and thousands of people were dying and passing and transitioning during that time. And I just wonder I know God works through everything, so God is working in the vaccine as well.
Because Laura, one thing is purported that Ernest said is the prayer and the pill. It's like you said, God works in mysterious ways, and so the way God handles certain situations is through His creation, i.e., us. And so when we look at how, in my perspective, when we look at how we address illnesses and we know from the pure science of mind perspective, right? Excuse me, they would pray and something would happen. It would, it was reported that Ernest, would pray all day for somebody. And he said he would pray until he felt the movement of the spirit within himself. And then when that happened, he knew the work had been done. And so, but he also said, if you need to take, some cold medicine, so to speak, then you need to take some cold medicine, because there's that balance of life. There's that interplay of spirit that we need to understand and get in harmony with. And that's the main thing. And I guess, for me being a Black man, in terms of taking new medicines and all of the real incidents and reported incidents of the government in the United States experimenting on Blacks with different medicines and treatments, that makes us very susceptible to trusting it. But at the same time, we are the ones that are in the larger numbers who are dying from it. Right. So it becomes a real choice that has to be made, because it's like, it's almost like two tough situations, and you got to choose between them.
Now, Ernest also said, and we teach this as well, that principle is not bound by precedent.
Yes.
So I want to bring that into this discussion, and I want to also be very transparent. I have not had a shot. I'm kind of a baby when it comes to needles. I freak out. It's just been that way my entire life. Doesn't matter what need. You're gonna have to blindfold me, gag me, and twist my head away for me to be able to get this thing. But I do intend to get it when they tell me I can. My wife has an appointment today. I'm not sure if we signed up on the same lists and yada, yada, yada. Anyway, Ernest said, principle is not bound by precedent. So I get it, right? Yes. Governments, drug companies, pharmaceutical companies, they don't have the greatest track record when it comes to trust. Smallpox on Native American blankets on the Trail of Tears. We could go on for hours and hours with stories around that. And that is the precedent. The principle is that life is prime, is that the nature of the universe is to bring us to wholeness. And to me, this feels like this is a path to wholeness. That I almost feel like I'm required to give him that one more chance. Uh-huh. Now, if pharmaceuticals screw this one up, right? And we just heard a story of a batch of the Johnson & Johnson, I think it was, vaccine that was spoiled by another subcontractor. So people that are developing these aren't even making them themselves now they're subcontracting the production of the vaccine.
Wow,
I get it.
Really?
This is how business is done, but it leaves openings for fear. Mm-hmm. And it leaves an opening for people to be afraid that they're not very trustworthy. We've got precedent. And I think that instills the fear in people that, and it's not that people are living from a fear-based life. It's not that you're living from fear, Laura.
No.
But there is this piece that says, hey, there might be a reason to be afraid of this. And that's going to stop a lot of people. And that's going to start a lot of controversy. Like, this does not change your RNA, people. There's no science that says this is going to change your RNA in your body because of taking this shot. So it is still a very, very tough place to be. And I want to, if we can, I just want to bring Chris into the conversation, really. I had my first one and get the second one April 4th. Had mixed feelings, but Vermont won't let visitors come unless they're vaccinated. I believe the vaccine is safe. I've never pushed it on anyone else. I did a lot of prep work, energy-wise first. And I think that's where we have. Yeah,
I love
we got
what Chris just said. And I think that really ties into what you've just said there about fear and using our principles to diminish our levels of fear, whether it's fear from taking the vaccine or not taking the vaccine.
Yeah.
Simply fear of the whole thing.
Right.
Because we're still in trauma. That's what we're still traumatized by the whole thing. It's like, This has all happened. All of these people have transitioned. It's still here. And then there is this option. And is this option really safe? And for some people, that might feel like Russian roulette.
Yeah.
Like, well, what is, that we're still healing from what has happened and what is happening.
Well, and Laura, that Russian roulette idea is pretty accurate in my mind, because it is. I mean, people don't know what or if there are any long-term effects of the virus. Of the vaccine. And I think one of the key things you said earlier was that the virus is alive. It is some people may take issue with me on this, but the virus is a living consciousness. It has a
Yeah.
conscious. That's why it may be very simple, but it has the sense enough to know that if I'm in an environment or in a host that is not conducive,
Yeah.
I will morph. I will migrate, mutate. I will do whatever I need to do to stay alive. And so if you look at the universe and God's creation as being a holistic approach, everything that's here has its purpose. Now, we know anything can go awry, anything can get out of sequence or out of alignment with the divine mind of God, but it has a purpose. And so in one way, we can look at the virus and that there's some evidence now they're talking about, they think it jumped from animals, and then there's people who said it was in a lab. But however it came here, there is a point where it serves a purpose if it doesn't get out of alignment. And so us as individual high level of consciousness, we have to make amends with that, if you will, and then figure out how we're going to proceed in life. Because there was the polio vaccine and all these other vaccines, the mumps, the measles, rubella, those things are pretty much don't affect the human body anymore.
Yeah.
And so there will be some fallout from this, we know. And so now it's just, trust in the Lord and wait.
And I believe it's really important to do independent research, and yes, trusting God. And what you said before is, that Ernest would pray, and then there would be the demonstration. The demonstration would show up, whatever it is, and that demonstration for us right now is the vaccine.
Yes,
could be the vaccine. And yeah, I really believe that piece of taking self-responsibility to do that research so that people feel that they have a say, a say in their own, what goes into our bodies. We have a say in what we eat, what goes into our mouths. If we choose to eat junk food or healthy food or food that's been injected with hormones, because that's going on as well, hormone injected food, and all sorts of foods that are chemically implanted foods. We get to choose with all of that. And yet with this, the choice is more kind of like on the line. It's our lives in the moment, and taking that leap. So I think another demonstration of this that is happening is that people are realizing that they can actually go online and research and see, and that the drug companies will have to be more transparent in future with what they're doing, because the way they behave is just barbaric with animal testing, with the way the way that they test the conditions that they're testing in, the money that's being handed over to doctors if they GPs here get an extra £200 every time they give a jab.
Wow.
There's all that going on, so from the drug companies. So I think this is bringing a transparency as well.
And I think there's a spin-off on this that just hit me that I love as well. Is, okay, yes, this vaccine's been rushed to market. Yes, there has been a huge push. Now, we don't know what the financial numbers really are, right? And one of the big detractors, let's say, one of the arguments against is that it has been so rushed, that we didn't follow the steps. It takes this many years. It takes this many years. It takes this many years. Well, what if it doesn't? Now, from my understanding, and if I'm wrong here and anybody watching or you guys, and I'm wrong, correct me, please. But my understanding is, yes, this is a variation of the MERS, SARS. We have been developing vaccines around this line for quite a while now. Yes, it's a variant. Yes, it's all this and that. But what if it doesn't take 10, 15 years of overhead, payroll, health insurance? What if the system that needs to be changed is how we develop vaccines and pharmaceuticals? So over the last year, we've seen a lot of systems break down. We've seen a lot of organizations fall away. It's striking me. They're proving how crooked they've been by finally doing the job. Oh, hey, yeah, no, we can do that in a month. We can do that in 6 months. We can do that in a year. And we did. From what we can tell, we've got an effective vaccine. Maybe not 100% effective, but we've got a vaccine that's effective enough to let humanity move forward, hopefully stop burying people from all of this. And in the meanwhile, and as a side effect, yes, pun intended, we proved that drugs don't cost that much, that it doesn't take that much to make a viable vaccine. Because we're never going to, no matter what we develop, we're never really going to know what the results are for the long term. You never really know what the long-term effects are. They're now saying that maybe stevia's got a long-term effect that's not good for us.
Right.
So another story,
So are you saying that really then we are a human experiment right now?
No. I don't think there's a conscious, we're going to go out there and just inject whatever we can to figure out what we need to learn. I think there is solid research. I think there's been ongoing research into this. They had to come up with a variation, but rather than taking the traditional 5 years to push that through the bureaucracy, to go through the red tape, to do they just said, well, we've always been able to do this in a shorter time frame. We just never did.
Right.
They wanted the profit that comes with taking 5 years. They wanted then versus the, hey, we can get this to market right now because this is good for humanity.
And the other part of it is, I think, life is unfolding, right? We are not today what we were, or what our grandparents were 100 years ago or 200 years ago, if we go to our great grandparents or whatever, right? We know as a physical body, we have unfolded. I won't say evolve, because I think God created us with everything we need, and we don't need to evolve into something else. We just need to tap into the spirit and unfold more of what we already are. And so this has given us that opportunity to go deeper inside of our mind, our hearts, our spirit, and say, hey, what is it that we are created and intended to be, and how do I unfold into that? And so with all of the systems, medical, education, I mean, I heard something this morning about the stress, as you were saying earlier, Laura, the stress and the strain and agitation that psychologists and psychiatrists and counselors are in big demand, because people have so much anxiety around it. That's going to be a whole nother thing that's going to evolve as a result of this.
Mm-hmm.
And what I really pray for is that love, the knowing of love, or the knowing of how how science of mind, how the new thought philosophy works, how science of mind works. Wouldn't it be amazing if this was like a huge opening for people to also, take the vaccine or not, and also for the medical establishment to understand the mind-body connection?
Yes.
Wouldn't this be an incredible, how Louise Hay kind of opened that up in the holistic world for people that really were tuned into that? This could be like a mass planetary opportunity for people to really start understanding, meditation, deep breathing, to release that anxiety, to get back to that knowing that my body is, and like the person that you were talking about, Rev Robert, my body, my choice. Well, also my body, my choice is how I connect with my body and my feelings and my thoughts and my intention, going down on that level, so that now we could have this incredible burst of people opening up in their awareness of who they really are as love. And doctors could could have that opportunity to really promote that.
And
Z had such a great thought, and then he froze.
Oh,
We'll come back to you, Z.
Come back.
The joy of being on the road. While we do that, I do want to add Linda's voice to this as well. Thank you for chiming in, for joining in, Linda. I have choice. I choose not to have my body host this virus. The vaccine is a tool I have chosen for me. I trust that Linda has also been using prayer and meditation and spiritual practices, as Laura's talking about, throughout this. And now we have a new tool that we can use to keep so I also choose to keep my body as healthy as possible. And here's what I love. I see these choices as part of my move my feet.
Love it.
Right. Pray, treat, and move my feet.
Yes.
Treat and move my feet so that we have the both and the prayer and the pill, as Elzia was saying earlier. What a great conversation.
I'm waiting for that day when the medical establishment does this amazing shift into the holistic approach for really showing people that they can actually use their knowledge of the mind-body connection.
Yes.
And that would be like, well, this could be the demonstration that we've all been asking for and praying for. I'm waiting for.
Yeah.
Where the medics wake up.
I want to affirm, and I want to affirm that it's not just, I see a lot of lip service right now being paid to spiritual practices and other holistic avenues. Welcome back, Z. I've seen a lot of lip service being played to these to things such as meditation and prayer and consciousness and mindfulness from the medical establishment to kind of say, oh yeah, well, and you guys too. What I hear you saying and what my affirmation is that this is a wholesale sea change in the way we look at healthcare, both on the physical, the mental, the emotional, and the spiritual levels. Yeah.
And just think, I came in. I'm sorry, folks. I'm back. This internet thing is interesting.
Yeah.
But you think about it. Things like chiropractic medicine and acupuncture and acupressure and all those kind of holistic things, as they used to be called, or alternative, right? They used to not be included in your insurance payments. Those were things that were just on the other side of the medical community, and they weren't allowed to pay for it. Now, most of those things are paid coverage under your insurance, because they are understanding now that, again, we live in a holistic life, and it is a holistic approach between the mind, body, and soul that we need to cultivate to create this vortex of love and this vortex of spirituality of the divine mind of God that makes everything work. And so the more we can get into that trifecta, if you will, of working together and allowing that to create us and move us forward, no matter what the field, then we will be more successful and more congruent with God itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey folks, we're almost out of time here, but before we go today, this show always goes real quick.
Yeah.
But before we go, I want to go a couple minutes over, and I want to have this group answer a question by one of our most loyal viewers, and it's a question he asks quite often, and I don't know that I've ever quite answered it. And it seems like the appropriate question for today's conversation from Wayne: can oneness spread like a virus of the mind? What a great question,
I would
right?
say I will give Laura that opportunity to answer that first.
I think it. Thank you, Revsy. I love you too. I think it is. I think we're not waiting for oneness to spread. I mean, oneness already is. It's our waking up to that, isn't it? It's our individual waking up to that, knowing of who we are as one. And that comes through the practice. That comes through sitting in the silence and connecting within on a daily basis. So I think, what was the exact quote there? Question there again, Robert?
Can oneness faith or oneness spread like a virus of the mind?
Yeah.
And
So, yeah, that would be my answer. It already is, and we're waking up to it.
Yes, and I would agree with that 100%, Laura, because we are already one, right? Not only one with each other, but one with this planet that we live on, right? All of the minerals in the earth are not, well, maybe all of them, but at least some of those we know: magnesium, copper, iron, zinc, all of those things that we think are dumb rocks, if you will. Those dumb rocks make up us, and if we start getting out of balance with them, we'll have a problem. So that oneness not only deals with us as individual humans, but as the planet itself. And so the more we can smile at each other, the more we can uplift each other, the more we can support and help each other, so that all these things that we don't even know are in our body can get activated and work like this planet that creates and heals itself. Then that oneness will spread like a virus, and we'll know that there is one God, and that is what is prime for life.
yes.
Yeah.
And
Amen.
Yeah, exactly. And I was struck, perhaps a little silly, but what struck me is, yes, oneness does spread just like a virus, from contact to contact.
Yes.
Whether that's human to animal contact, animal to animal contact, human to human contact, the virus, the oneness, and we'll just take away the word virus for a minute, because that sort of has a icky feeling. But oneness spreads in the mind from one to another, from a connection. And I agree with what Laura is saying as well, right? It's all there. It's always there. We just awaken to it. So what we're doing is we're kind of becoming super awakeners, or we're each a super spreader. Each of us becomes a super spreading event of the consciousness of oneness. And well, as Chris is saying, we believe our consciousness rising allows more people to wake up as well.
Yeah.
Right.
And to add in there that the virus is showing us how to do that on a deeper level, because the virus is waking us up to connect with our oneness, and the way that we are connecting with each other now online in a way that we've never done before, and we're all we can just tap a button and we're with someone halfway around the world. And so the virus has brought that forwards. It's kind of sped that up, and here we all are connecting and loving each other in a much more dynamic way than ever before.
So in a lot of ways, we really ought to be grateful.
Yeah.
That's the hard pill to swallow, right? The whole, go ahead, folks. Hit me in the comments, send the emails, let us know what you're thinking and where this is taking you. But this may be we may need to circle around to this again in a few weeks. But if we start adding up all the good that has happened, and I know there's been a lot of ugly, there's been a lot of less than what we feel is less than good. But if we start adding up all the good that's happened in the past year, well, I'm going to have to believe that the 500,000 Americans and however many across the planet that chose to give their lives for this transformation to happen, that's where my real gratitude goes. Yeah. My gratitude goes to those souls that consciously or unconsciously said, I know I'm part of this, and this is mine to take that trip. So the ones that stick around behind me will have a better life. We'll have better healthcare. We'll have a better boom, 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 boom.
Yep.
Wow. Yes.
See, folks, we never know where we're going to end up.
We've ended up in gratitude.
But we've ended up in gratitude, exactly. And we also recognize that we do end this show so that you can get into the rest of your Friday and do what's coming next for you. And here on the New Thought Media Network, we have hours of great programming for you here this morning. 8:15 Mountain Time is morning prayers. 8:30 Mountain Time, Rev Melissa and the Morning Sip, a great half hour, and she does a great job. Starting next week at 9 a.m., Rev Steph and Wake Up Say Thank You will be with us Monday through Friday as well. And then on Fridays, also at 9:30, we have our Heart of Peace meditation. This week at 11 o'clock, we're premiering a brand new show, Rev Skip in the Flow. Let's take a look and see a little bit about what's going on with Rev Skip this morning. So I tell you, folks, if Rev Skip's first guest on his program with us is Ricky Byers, I am just super excited for today's episode. This is going to be a lot of fun. And just can't imagine the guests this guy's going to get that Rev Skip's going to bring and share with you, our viewers and listeners. You know, all of this happens because of the donations, the gifts, the tithes, the offerings that you supply, that you are part of that flow of giving that allows all this to happen. So thank you for clicking the button. Wayne, I see you clicked the button this morning. I'm very proud of you, brother. Thank you so much for supporting the network and everyone else that's done so in this morning. So we're running so long. This was a great conversation. Final thoughts, gang.
Well, I think for me, it is, as Laura, I like Laura, everybody should do their research and trust their heart and let God be their guide on how they do this, and know that there's no place where God is not.
Yes.
And I think from this conversation, it comes back to what the piece that you brought in, Rev Z, of taking responsibility. And maybe setting that as the value, you know, where am I being more responsible here? And with that as the value, we can look up to that and say, right, actually, this is my decision I'm going to make, and be proud of it. So taking the vaccine could be an amazing thing to do.
Wonderful. Thank you both. Z, I know you'll be here next Friday. Laura, I hope you'll come back and visit us again sometime.
Yeah, of course. That'd be great. Thank you.
Yes.
And everyone out there
Great
watching
fun.
oh yes. And everyone watching on Facebook, YouTube, or Humanities Team, come join us again next week as well. Z, you had
maybe I was going to say, maybe we can do one of these in a little while with Laura over in the UK. We can fly over there. We could be there in person.
Yeah, definitely. And I'd love you to be on the Cosmic Prayer as well.
Sure.
Come on to the Cosmic Prayer show.
Yes.
Yeah.
Somebody send a proposal to the travel department and see if we can get it on the travel budget. For sure.
First class.
And we'll fly economy. That way we, you know.
Oh, okay.
All right, folks, we're out of here for now. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you again. Until next time, peace and blessings.
Peace and blessings.
Bye.
And thanks for listening to this week's episode of Ministers Talking. We'll be back again next week with more commentary on current affairs, world events, and any other our ministers want to talk about. And if you found value here, please share our with your friends. Until next time, peace and blessings.